Hello everyone, my name is Eric and welcome back to the second part of Mutant Chronicles, talking about the core rulebooks and the main setting of the game. Details will be discussed extreme details will be discussed further in coming episodes. There will be separate episodes for all the main modules of Mutant Chronicles. So I'll get to them later on. There will be probably about 10 more episodes, maybe even further, depending on. I might do even more. There might be between 10 and 15 more episodes of this. I hope you brought yourself a pillow or something, sit nicely, take it easy, and enjoy this. We're going to talk further about this. I just realized I should have said this in the first episode, but I didn't because I'm a bit stupid. And I don't make any... I'm too stupid to actually make any plans or write a script for everything. So, getting back to where we were, we have discussed the 4 different corporations, the main corporations that took the step out into the solar system. Humanity, fuck yeah, blah blah blah. Trying to find their way in this big cold universe and in the hunt for more monies. In the main rulebook, the core rulebook, let's see now, it doesn't say exactly when the 5th corporation was founded. The 5th corporation came to be in the source book, I believe. It says that it was created about 100 years ago. What happens was that suddenly, overnight, the entire stock market just crashed and it says here that the foundation of Cybertronic was a small, originally, Cybertronic Investment Incorporated was a small freelancer company, which suddenly and massively took over several of the corporation's resources. Within the span of a few hours, hundreds of billions of marks, the main currency is called the Cardinal's marks or Cardinal crowns, had exchanged owners, and a new mega corporation was born. It became the 5th in size and was close to the size of Imperial when it came to assets and total net value. This is expanded upon more within the source books, and I believe it was more in the 2nd edition. There are a lot of behind the scenes and purchases, and a lot of people who got together and did inside investment, inside information, and broke out from the corporations into Cybertronic. Cybertronic is exactly what it sounds like. It's a cyber company. They are traitors from other companies who believe that high technology should once more be part of humanity. What has happened is that it's dieselpunk, and since the darkness arrived, high technology doesn't work. That's why it became dieselpunk. They have to use analog stuff. The less technology there is, the less likely things are to become corrupted by the dark symmetry. And I'll talk about that when I get to the point of dark symmetry. The founding happened within just a few hours. It created havoc on the stock markets, which are the most important areas of marketing due to the fact that every corporation is a corporation. All the nations are corporations. I would say that Cybertronic is very based on German and French styles. They might be like the Dutch and the Belgians. The Belgians, they're evil. They are not very much liked by the Brotherhood, which I haven't talked about yet. The Brotherhood doesn't like them because the Brotherhood stands up for saving humanity from the corruption of dark symmetry, and to avoid that we should use high technology. Cybertronic uses high technology like cyberspace, which was a thing. This was the early 90s when this game came out. but also like bionics and cybernetics and robotics is what they use. Most of the company it's very secretive. There's not much information about it at all. Nobody really knows that much about the company, or who the founders are, or who actually runs the company. They know a few of them. And anyone who tries to find information about them disappear or become a member of the company or dies. So they are at odds with many of the corporations. Bauhaus, they don't really mind them, even though most of them came from Bauhaus. But Bauhaus is like, well, we can work with each other. The Mishima are trying to constantly spy on them. Mishima is known for their Chinese knockoff copies. So Mishima tries to constantly do espionage. Imperial fucking hates Cybertronic, and they are trying to purge and kill them as much as possible. Capital is like, well, yeah, you know, we can make business. We aren't getting money from this, so who cares? Now, those were the original corporations within this first and second edition. COG tried to remove Cybertronic because they felt it was dated, and I can partially agree with them, but now I feel it's more like it's so fucking cool in its own way. But back then, mid-2000s, I felt that Cybertronic really didn't fit into the setting in a way. They were a little bit like an eyesore, which I have to say that it was fixed in the third edition. Now, I really like the intrigue that they created in third edition for Cybertronic. But in first edition and second edition, they kind of stood out. It was really cool, you know, like, we have magic, we have fucking guys running around with samurai swords, cutting people down and parrying shots. We have action heroes, we have demons, and we have robots. I mean, you had everything in one package when you think about it. But as I said, when I got older, I felt like this doesn't fit, really. So COG tried to remove Cybertronic, as far as I remember, and change it into a different kind of company called the Sundiata. I don't really know that much about it, and I'm happy it didn't come to fruition, because that would have been too much of a change to the game, in my opinion. Now looking back at it, you know, hindsight is 2020. Modifius, they didn't remove Cybertronic, they made it better, and they added a sixth corporation, which isn't really a corporation, but they made a change and added another faction. Well, actually, they added several factions, honestly. So, the sixth corporation or sixth faction that I'm going to talk about I'm going to talk about it lightly. It's going to have its own episode. It can be debated if the sixth faction is very original or not. They are called the White Star. And according to the third edition, they were like the people who were left on Earth. They are the Russians. They are so fucking Russians. It's hilarious. They even have Cossacks with the hats and everything, you know, like. And once more, they have actually done it quite well, but it's very, very heavily influenced by, I would say, Tsarist Russia, but also Metro 2033. It feels a tad bit like a ripoff there. But I still like it, the idea. They are pissed off at all the other factions, the other corporations, because they left Earth. They left everybody else on Earth. When the corporations left Earth, they took all their personnel. Anyone who didn't belong to the corporations, which was kind of a lot of people, they were left behind. So they had to live through the hell that was Earth. In 3rd edition, which is not really expanded upon in 1st and 2nd, Earth resources have been drained 100%. That's kind of like implied. This was originally this was made in the 90s, when we believed like in resources will be out, there will be acid rains, nuclear war, and so on. That's basically what spawned the Mutant series. The 3rd edition expanded on this a little bit more. The corporations went out into the solar system to gain more resources, and they started to send off these different, like, what's it called, terraforming ships as part of the evacuation of Earth. And the grand catastrophe was that the nuclear war started and all that, but the greatest catastrophe was that when a Chinese, I think it was Chinese, or I think it was Mishima Corporation, because there were no nations back then in this world, in this setting, when it had a misfire upon launch, or if it was attacked, I can't remember now. What happened was that at least that it crashed during launch, releasing the terraforming pathogens into Earth's atmosphere. By doing that, the terraforming pathogens were bacteria and stuff like that. There were machinery too that helped the terraforming along, of course, but there were bacteria that would be introduced onto the new planet to get an ecosystem. Problems with, for example, Mars is that due to the low atmospheres, there are some bacteria, but not many, which means that the Earth will not be cannot sustain, for example, agriculture. So you would have to bring that bacteria from Earth and other bacteria to help seed the planet and to help the atmosphere. You would have atmospheric generators that creates the ozone layer around the planet, so you get a breathable atmosphere, and then you would have this to make the soil viable for growing plants and stuff, and so on. You know, blah, blah, blah. I'm just talking now. But this got loose into the environment, which is supposed to like break down whatever is on the planet originally to create its new ecosystem. It killed so many people. It gets mutated by the nuclear storms and everything, which means Earth is fucked. It's out of the question. Earth is dead now. But this is something they made clear in the 1st and 2nd. It's like, Earth is forbidden. You can't go there. It's like a yellow ball. There's no life. Nobody wants to go there. And this was expanded upon in Dark Eden, that there were survivors. There were... Let's see if I can remember the different factions from back then. Now I'm going off on a tangent, really. I think there were like the Sons of Rasputin in Russia, the Lutherian Triad in what is Britain, the Templars, and the Crescentia, which were like the Arab nations, and the Paladins. I can't remember who the fuck they were. Heavily mutated people, at least. I think only the Sons of Rasputin were the only pure human groups. So White Star took their people and hid underground in the metro. You see what I mean? It's metro, basically. So they made their underground bunkers and they lived there, and they tried to survive and reestablish civilization on Earth. A group of them later breaks off and becomes the Sons of Rasputin. So there's the intrigue for that. But I'm going to get to that whenever I get to that. They become the main power faction, more or less, at least on Earth, except for those minor tribes, which are mutants and the breakaway group faction of the Sons of Rasputin. And later on, the corporations are trying to go back to Earth and see like what the fuck happened, and they are killed off by the White Stars. Like, fuck you guys who destroyed the planet, don't come back here or we'll send nukes to Luna and destroy that one. So it becomes a stalemate, and later on diplomatic missions start to work out, and by the Dark Legion era there is a White Star embassy on Luna. They are extremely rare to find within the general populace in during Dark Symmetry era. They don't exist yet in the setting. They are still on Earth. They haven't really come up to Luna yet. They come after the Dark Symmetry, but in the Dark Legion era they do exist. They're not that common, and in Dark Eden era I think they are more prevalent, and they are also on Earth if you go there. There is actually an entire campaign set on Earth. I haven't spoken this much in a long time, continuously, so my throat is getting a little bit sore. Moving on. There's another important faction in the universe called the Cartel. As I said, all of these factions that I've been talking about, they are available in the main book. But there are hours upon hours of things I can tell you about them, which I will, but in different episodes. So the book also talks about the Cartel, which is the main faction, is another main faction. The Cartel was founded as basically the UN. It's a great peacekeeping force, but it was also created to combat the Dark Symmetry with a specific special forces called the Doom Troopers. That's the main thing they did. They get, at least in first and second edition, they are a little bit out of the limelight. They are not that well, there's not much information about them. You know, there's like 1, 2, 3, 4. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages long in the core rulebook about the Cartel. So it's a little bit about the background on them, the different operations they do, and their structure. It's described as a bureaucratic behemoth where most of the infighting between the corporations takes place, like diplomatic work. But and the two last pages are just about Doom Troopers. One is like about the different units, and the other one like how to create your own Doom Trooper if you want to play like the role-playing game version of the Siege of the Citadel. Cool idea. But as I said, there's not much information on the Cartel here. I'm going to talk about the Cartel in its own episode from 3rd edition and so on. But now, let's get to the interesting groups. The Light and the Darkness. The Light is represented by a group called the Brotherhood, which I believe I mentioned before, and in the introductory text, I'm about to say test all the fucking time. In the introductory text, it's written by a scribe from the Brotherhood. The Brotherhood is a religious organization. That's how it's presented, at least in the 1st and the 2nd edition. But in the 3rd edition, it's more like, well, it isn't a religion per se. It's more of a philosophy to save humanity from the evil, from the darkness. Which is really interesting. But here in the 1st and 2nd edition, it's based upon Catholicism, I would say, because they have the Inquisition and all that. While in the 3rd edition, yeah, it's based Catholicism, but there are Christians, there are Jews, there are several other religious groups like Muslims too, all mixed together into one big grouping. This is the dominant religious group. It's not really right to call it a religious group per se, but they are the main power faction that unites humanity against the darkness. They were founded when, and this is what happened in the original storyline, is the 5 corporations, well, the 4 corporations actually. The 4 corporations expanded out into the solar system, Mishima to Mercury, Bauhaus to Venus. Well, they started with Luna, all of them, but there, and Capital to Mars. Imperial took the asteroid field and expanded, and they all expanded further and further. You have to remember this was created in the 90s when Pluto was still considered a planet instead of a dwarf planet. And there was also the Planet X, that there were talks about. I mean, in the Kuiper Belt there are celestials, well, not celestials, but there are objects in the Kuiper Belt at the edge of the solar system that are larger than Pluto and can, in some cases, maybe be defined as planets. So, you know. But the 10th planet was found, and it was called Nero. Imperial was curious. It's more expanded upon in the Imperial source book. But there are hints at that the darkness actually tempted humanity and certain groupings within Imperial to expand and travel to Pluto. So they Imperial conquistadors, they travel to Pluto, and that's when they break the first seal of repulsion. I think they were called seals of repulsion, where they release the dark soul. It's not really touched that much upon in the first 2 editions. In the 3rd one, they actually have more information about it, even from the point of view of one of the people who was there. So they go there, they tell them that we have found this big metal stone with engravings on it, and then boom, all the communications disappear. And all of humanity feel the darkness coming, more or less, like in their spines. They can feel the evil that has been released. And slowly stuff start to go wrong for humanity. Technology starts to fail more and more. Technology becomes more unreliable, so to speak. And when people reach Nero, the apostles are released, and all shit goes to hell, and it's all out war. Humanity is about to lose. I mean, from the darkness comes the apostles, which are like demigods of war, and they start like killing everyone. And in all of this panic and the ensured apocalypse and extermination of the human race, 3 people arrive out of the jungles on Venus. Well, they appear out of the jungle, and they are the Durand brothers. Nathaniel, Peter, and Alexander. And they start the Brotherhood. I think they are just called the Brothers in the beginning in 3rd edition. Here they're called the Brotherhood all the time. So they found the Brotherhood, and they start teaching people with like the innate psionic ability that humanity has evolved over the eons, and through probably some genetic manipulation, to wield magic and to fight the darkness. And they help, like, we have to forbid artificial intelligence because it goes haywire. It can be corrupted by the darkness. And it becomes like a religious order. They start out like soup kitchens, helping in the poor and things like that. They're gathering people. And they start a crusade against the darkness. In the end, by uniting all of humanity, they destroy the earthly vessel of Algoroth, for example, on Venus during the Venusian Crusade. And the cardinal, Nathaniel, the first cardinal, dies. And I think his brother, I think it was like Alexander, becomes the next cardinal. And then there was like cardinals moving on, and all the way up to the present date, which is not 100% sure. As I said, it was mentioned in the previous episode. The date was never really set. I think it might have been set in the 2nd edition. But in a Syncadus, I think it was set as at 1279. So 1279 years since the crowning of the first cardinal. So the Brotherhood becomes this main grouping. They have really good contacts with especially Bauhaus, because the 3 first cardinals, the 3 brothers, were from the Bauhaus Corporation. And as I understand it, every single cardinal since then has been part of Bauhaus originally. It's an aesthetic organization who works in many different fields. They have 4. The number 4 is very important in this game for some reason. 4 archdukes, 4 Mishima, like the emperor and his 3 children. The 4 main power players in the capital. the 4 main power players in Imperial, and so on and so on. The Brotherhood is put down into 4 directorates: the Inquisition, the Administration, the Mystics, and la 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 la, and the Mission. So the Mystics are like the people who research the magic that can be used. The Inquisition are the fighters. The Mission are the ones who help the people and spread the word of the Brotherhood, and the Administration are the ones who take care of everyday life and administration, diplomacy, and all that stuff. They build cathedrals. The Inquisition is used, for example, to weed out also like heretics within society. They build cathedrals. I think there are 8 cathedrals, main cathedrals at least, where all the different chronicles, Mutant Chronicles, get it, are written on the walls, which is the history of the world. And let's see now. And it's common for the people to like go on pilgrimages to all the different cathedrals to read the chronicles. So as I said, it's religious and it's not religious at the same time. It's very hard to put down exactly what it is. There are other temples and churches all over the place too, where there are like missionaries and other people from the Brotherhood. Let's see now. What more? Yes, they have good relations with Bauhaus, of course. As I said, the cardinals hail from Bauhaus most of the time. And now there's a big spoiler here, so skip ahead a few minutes if you're going to play Mutant Chronicles. So, in the 1st and 2nd edition, the cardinals are 3 people, and they find a way to stay young forever. They find this, I think it's like the 18th or 16th spell in the art of mentalism, which needs 500 magnitudes of spell power to be activated. It's a ritual, but it will make the person they cast it on to become young again, like become a child once more. So the 3 cardinals, they decide that, well, the 3 brothers, I mean, they decide that they are going to utilize this because the darkness is going to destroy humanity if they can't be in control of the Brotherhood. So they do this. They put it into a system. So all the cardinals that have ever existed in the Mutant Chronicles universe are the 3 brothers. So whenever one is getting old, they cause his death, like a fake death, make him young again, and he starts over and become a member of the Brotherhood, work his way all the way up and becomes cardinal again. So it rolls on and on and on. Now, in the 3rd edition, it's a little bit different. And that's the meta plot that we're talking about. And I'm probably going to do my own episode where I discuss the meta plot for the 3rd edition, because it's interesting and I really like the meta plot there. So, more or less, they are aliens. There were 4 aliens on Mars. Originally, they fought the Dark Legion back in their day. Their civilization was destroyed. They crashed on Earth. And they came up with a plan to use humanity to stop the darkness. So they infect humanity with different mutations, basically making them into their own people. They mess with the human DNA. So, and they use their last powers to create the 3 brothers. So 3 of the aliens become the 3 brothers, and the 4th one is a sister, and she becomes the emperor and ruler of the White Star Corporation. So it's again the 3 brothers who constantly control the Brotherhood. But as I said, they are 3 aliens instead, who disguise themselves as humans. And that's also the explanation why humanity can use magic, why they have developed psionics. The thing that happens is that Nathaniel was lethally wounded by Algoroth during the Venusian Crusade, and he dies. They are trying to bring him back, but they haven't really succeeded 100% as I remember. Peter becomes Alexander becomes the cardinal, and Peter too, and they are trying to continue with their little scheme. That doesn't really work out properly. Alexander gets pissed off and he goes away, and a few hundred years later he creates Cybertronic. That's the thing. While Peter then is stuck with the Brotherhood and trying to make Nathaniel. I think he makes a clone of Nathaniel and tries to keep it together and there instead. So it's not always the three brothers. It's not always the three brothers. Sorry for the sneeze here. Yeah. So that's the difference. I'm going to go into it, as I said, in a different episode. Moving on. End of the spoiler. Let's move on to the... I'm just checking the time. Let's move on to the Dark Legion. The Dark Legion comprises quite a few pages in this book. There. It's like 20-30 pages. The Dark Legion... when they reached the 10th planet and they broke the second seal of repulsion, the Dark Legion was... the Apostles and their legions were released into the solar system. Before that, it was just the Dark Soul, or the Dark Symmetry. It's a little bit unclear to put on this point. It seems like the Dark Soul and Dark Symmetry is some kind of incorporeal intelligence, evil intelligence that is trying to destroy everything, and it's an extra dimensional thing. It's completely alien, at least, but we don't know if it really comes from our universe or if it comes from a different universe or a parallel dimension or anything like that. The forces of the darkness or the Dark Soul are both like demons from different dimensions, but also alien races. So, as I said, it's a little bit vague here, and in the third edition, I think they try to explain it a little bit more, but it's still fucking confusing as hell. But the different, as I said, the Apostles come out of the into the solar system. There are 5 of them, so not 4. As I said, in Mutant Space, there were even more of them. So, but there are 5 apostles, the Dark Generals, the supreme commanders of the darkness. They are all siblings, and they have a rivalry between each other. But the thing is that each of the siblings, so they can fight each other at times, but they also, like that, they complete each other in one way or another. So Elian, who is the main leader, is female for a given value of female. She has been given a female aspect, at least. She is the mistress of the void. In Swedish they call her the mistress of nothingness, but void sounds cooler. She's the first of them, and the strongest of them. She is the one who has the most magic, so to speak, most corruption, and most magic. Let's see now. From the void she stepped. The cardinal was tossing and turning in his sleep. He felt that the world had changed and that new forces were growing. Weird news was brought to the cardinal. A bad omen. The 7th star in the 7th house was darkened, and since this, our planets could not be reached with further light from this growing light from our own lighthouse, the portal, the guardian of the portal. And oddly enough, they talk about Earth here for some reason. On Earth, tidal waves came crashing in and killed many, and far more lost their homes. Above the city Methusalem, the skies darkened for 30 days and 30 nights by clouds of bloody red, and in human dreams the dark animals howled at the moon. Prophets spoke for the first time about the mistress of the void, since that she had spoken to them in their dreams. She wandered around She wandered the shadowy paths of the art within our souls, observing, studying, and noticing. Alien made no mistakes when she entered our world. Portals to other worlds opened, and through them the mistress of the void was called by the dark symmetry and became its guardian. All of them heard the clarion call and brought the knowledge of how to form the darkness after their wishes. So the mistress of the world became the worldly secrets mistress, or the mistress of worldly secrets. I tried to read that really oddly. So she is that one. Then we have Algaroth. Gotta love Algaroth, the master of technology. He's the main faction that everybody wars against. He is the corruption within technology. He is the one who brings forth the undead legionnaires and monstrosities that you fight on the battlefield. He is the least... he's least into subterfuge. He is like, there's the enemy, go fuck him up. Alien is more like subtle, she's moving around in different circles, corrupting and like that. And Algaroth's like, move ahead, soldiers, kill them humans. So that's the main difference. Mawiji, not sure how to pronounce his name, is the master of vision or master of prophecy and madness. He is the one who brings forth madness and speaks to people in their dreams, creating madness and chaos. Semaj. I don't know. He is the lord of lies. He's the one who speaks to people and corrupts them. He's the largest reason for corruption within corporations. And the final one is Demnogonis, the lord of pestilence. So when you have war, you will have famine and you will have disease. Except for death, of course. But so he is the lord of pestilence, and he is also very obvious, but he's also the one who inhabits the sewers and the homeless, spreading his corruption that way. So they have both physical forms and incorporeal forms at the same time. So they move around a little bit. But beneath them are the Nephirites, the demon lords that control the different troops and the cells of heretics and other stuff, all the way down to the undead legionnaires. The undead legionnaires within this world, they believe in cremation because the darkness has pointed out that, has made it clear that any dead body can be resurrected into a zombie that will try to kill everyone. And they use them as soldiers. So you can see why it didn't go too well for humanity. If you have a battlefield against monsters and all your dead comrades get up again and use their weapons to kill you, you're in deep shit. But it's not the only way that they are getting at humanity. They also corrupt people, regular people. As I said, mostly Semaj, but Mawija and Alien, even Algaroth do that a lot. So they corrupt humans to become spies for the darkness and to turn more and more people to do sabotage and strike against humanity from within itself. There we go. That's all of this in the main book. Those are the main factions of the game. I'm going to talk about other factions that showed up in 3rd edition, but they will have their own episodes. The book also talks about a little bit about the freelancer, who the freelancer is. Like, this is the adventurer, this is what they're going to do. They're going to be agents, free agents of the corporations, and that's how we create our game. And due to this being like the first book, they didn't expand more on the universe directly. They talked more about Luna as the main home, which is kind of odd when you think about it. Let's see now. I'm going to hold up the folder, this folder here. So here we go. That's the entire folder. This part is the fluff. This part over here is the introduction about the freelancer and Luna, and the rest over here is character creation, rules, and equipment lists. So you have all of this to describe the world in general terms, but only this to discuss the setting you're going to play in. So even less it's going to be this, the adventure section. It's less than 10 pages. So you didn't have much to work with. They changed that in the second edition. They expanded this way more and with more detail. So they have a little bit about Luna, the different districts. Not too much about it. Just like a little bit about like the old technology, law enforcement, how to travel in space, the main areas, architecture, shopping, but nothing like this is how much a meal costs, this is how much a person earns, media, a little bit about the subways, and how people dress. That's it. In the second edition, at least, they had not a very detailed map, but they had a bit of a map pointing out like this is here, this is there. They did it in the Capital book for the first edition. They even have here about what happens after death. A little bit about banking. But what they did in the second edition was that they took the information from... Let's see if I can find it. Oh, crap. Where is it? Just give me a moment and I'll find it. Okay, I found it. So... within the first year, they released the core rulebook that I'm sitting with here in the folder. They printed the Brotherhood book, and the year after they printed this, the Game Master screen, which came with this one. This little booklet is expanding upon. It's called the Freelancer's Handbook, where they, and as you see, it's just all black and white. Basically, they threw this through the photocopier and just, put some clamped it together. This is an expansion more about, like, how, on the first chapter here, like, who is the adventuring gang, with some information about, like, how to play as a freelancer, how different missions are made, and some examples from the dossier of Michael McBride, who is the example character that they create here. The sample character, who's famous from the Blood Parades. So new backgrounds and new skills and new equipment. But the information here, on like, this is how much people... Here they have cost of living. Like, how much do people earn? How much does stuff cost? And so, and how much does it cost to travel in the solar system? How long time does it take? They put this more or less into the second edition, so that was smart. And that's one of the largest misses in the core rulebook. They got that into the third one too, so that's good. They had that going for them. And as I said, in the second edition, they explained a little bit more about Luna City. In third edition, I think Luna actually has its own source book. And in the core rulebook, they have quite a lot about Luna to begin with. In the second edition, as I said, it was just more general information about the different areas and basic maps. Third edition has like a detailed map and all the information, all the background information. Second edition had a little bit more of that, which they brought over to the third edition. So third edition, great work there, guys. Modifius, you fucking rock on that score. What more? I was going to say something else too. Yeah, I forgot that. As I said, people who use the art, they learn the art, the magic of the Brotherhood, the Road of Light. And there are 8 different disciplines, as I remember it, based on the colors of the rainbow. Yeah, makes sense, doesn't it? While each of the heretics have their own magic based on each of the apostles. There's like general spells, and then you have specialized spells, like Elian has her own, Algroth has his own, and so on. I'm just trying to see here, did I forget something? I think I probably did, but hopefully I can get that into the upcoming episodes. I'm just double checking here a little bit about what else did I forget. Well, hopefully I'll get to it next time I talk with you guys. And as I said, my my throat is really sore. Oh right, that's what I forgot. In this one, this big freaking book, there was no... Most of the core rule books, no matter which game you get, or, I mean, back then, now it's starter sets most of the time, but most of them have like an introductory scenario so you can learn to play the game. This one, the first edition, didn't have one. As far as I remember, I haven't even... I'm going to double check now. The Freelancer's Handbook had the dossiers of Michael McBride, which were like, well, these are adventuring seeds, I guess. And this one had a little bit in the beginning here, like adventuring, like what kind of missions could be used. But there's just information to be used about the different, like the Dark Legion and the different corporations. There's no adventure seeds or anything in the source book, in the core book. Second edition, they had, first of all, they had the different like adventure seeds of Luna City, and they had one introductory adventure called Luna City Blues, which became kind of grand in itself. I think that they thought that due to the fact that Operation Kirkwood was already out, that's like, that will be the companion adventure to first edition. Second edition had in the book already. Third edition has lots of adventure seeds, but Modifius were cool enough to release like introductory an introductory adventure, which was already in the beta. I think it was already in the alpha too. And they have also the living campaign now, which they have started to survey to find more information on how people did in the adventure. But they had, I think it's called Slaktaregatan 39, which is like Butcher Street or something like that. But they also released everything more or less at once, so you got all the adventure seeds and all the adventures available almost instantly. That's the advantage they had. They started a tradition from the Brotherhood book and onward, almost, except the exception being, I think, the Freelancer's Handbook, to include in every source book, or at least they tried to include, I think they skipped in Bauhaus, to include one adventure for each faction, for each module that you got. So that's a good idea. They also had the Venusian Apocalypse, which came on later, but I'm going to talk about it too in its own separate episode. So that's it, guys. That's the core rule books. I hope you enjoyed my talk about this. We're going to develop the meta plot. This one didn't have really a meta plot. The only meta plot is like light, darkness, everything is fucked up. Humanity is kind of losing the fight. While first and second edition, third edition has a more complex meta plot, which I will get into as we discuss this more and more. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Really do. Do leave a like and a comment for this video, and don't forget to subscribe for more information and so you can get the first notifications when the next episode is coming up. With that, thank you guys. I'm going to sign off, and I'll see you guys later.